It's very well engineered and very safe, and the team is very focused on safety first.
The communication is really key, I think, knowing that they never lost communication.
Not 1 second of me experiencing anything from OceanGate have I ever felt unsafe.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Early on Saturday morning, the Polar Prince mothership returned to the Canadian port of St. John's, minus the Titan submersible and minus 5 crew, minus the CEO of the corporation, minus a British billionaire, minus a French national, and minus a father and son duo. The former Canadian Coast Guard icebreaker, chartered by OceanGate, docked at 8:15 a.m., that's 8:15 local time. Transportation Safety Board investigators were seen immediately boarding the blue, white, and orange vessel. According to the Daily Mail, quote, rib boats were also spotted towing what appeared to be the Titan submersible's launch platform away from the Polar Prince and further along the port. And obviously, the Titan itself was no longer on it. I have 5 questions of my own. But before we get to that, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do. Welcome to the hundreds of you who have subscribed since I've started doing this sort of investigative coverage. And I will obviously be continuing to track this story. If you don't know me, I'm the author of dozens of books on true crime, including a best-selling series of books on the 1996 Everest disaster. If you're enjoying this episode, please like, share, leave a comment, and let's get started. So, the most important question I have has actually got nothing to do with the ship, with the mothership, or even the ship's crew, but with this idea of towing the launch platform behind the ship. Is that really what we're dealing with here? So the number one question is, was the launch platform towed 435 miles out to sea to the drop zone with the Titan on board? Photos appear to confirm not only that the launch platform is being towed by the Polar Prince, but also that there is apparently no space on the ship to stow the Titan, let alone lift it on board. Now, why would you want to do something like that? Well, what if there was an emergency and you wanted to bring the ship to the surface and then head as fast as possible to the nearest port, perhaps because someone inside the submersible is in some sort of danger? And now it appears that they would really be stuck there with the craft kind of alongside the ship. And obviously all of this seems to be a departure from footage we've seen with we see the launch platform sliding down a ship's ramp onto, and that seems to be another larger vessel. It's not the same vessel as the Polar Prince. In the above images, you can see how the platform is launched on a relatively calm sea while tied at both ends in order to release it as gently, in other words, with as little seesawing, rocking and rolling as possible. If the Polar Prince towed the Titan to the drop site this time round, it suggests the hull, that fragile carbon fiber hull, could have been exposed to extreme weather, but also, crucially, knocked around, causing the superstructure to bend, warp, flex, or even deform, even prior to dropping it down. This is an image of the Polar Prince towing the platform with the Titan on it, dated May 29th, 2023. Question 2. Can the Titan be lifted on board the Polar Prince? As I say, this is an important question. In a scenario where the vessel is damaged and brought to the surface, are they able to get it out of the water? Then I've got 2 additional questions regarding the crew and comms. You heard at the clip at the beginning of this episode, you heard someone saying that they never once lost communication, or the communication was so good. Well, we've heard different stories from other people. And certainly that is what happened. They lost comms during this final fatal expedition. So the question number 3 is, if Titan was ascending at the time comms were lost? Why did the crew say they were ascending? Now, one would imagine in a search and rescue mission, this would be a vital and potentially time-sensitive disclosure. So did the OceanGate crew privately let searchers know what they knew? Or did they make a distress call pretending they had no idea what happened? If the latter, there may be a case for civil and even criminal liability. Bear in mind, search and rescue operations can cost millions of dollars. If the operational staff aren't forthcoming with what they know, it can lead to the unnecessary mustering of resources. Who knows, possibly it has been or will be billed to the Billionaire on Board's expense account. And that then brings us to question number 4. Did OceanGate crew on the mother ship know about the cracking noises? In line with the above question, if OceanGate crew had comms with the Titan right until it imploded, surely that means they had reason to believe it had imploded. Did they make any effort to communicate this to searchers? Where is that dialogue? Where is a record of those final communications? In sum, although Canada's Transport Authority are allowed to investigate the ship that conveyed the Titan to its final destination, based on my understanding, based on what I've read and what I've heard, they can't actually investigate the submersible since it's a separate entity and since it's something that goes under the water. And also it falls under American jurisdiction. It's an American company. And for that matter, it's got nothing to do with transport. And that then brings us to the 5th and final question. Since the incident happened in international waters and underwater, who does have jurisdiction over it? And if the answer is no one, then that might be something that these boards and these bodies that deal with this sort of thing might want to legislate this particular aspect so that someone does have to answer to some sort of regulations somewhere, and that certifications so that they even in international waters, certain craft are going to need to provide certain certifications to a specific body, right? If there is no one who has jurisdiction over this sort of situation, then I wonder whether Stockton Rush potentially knew how to avoid an investigation, not where there's a disaster, but where there are potentially flaws and certification issues, and if they turned out to be one. According to Voice of America, quote, the U.S. Coast Guard has declared the loss of the Titan submersible to be a major marine casualty and will lead the investigation. The NTSB has joined the investigation and will contribute to their efforts. The USCG is handling all media inquiries related to this investigation, and that is according to the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, and they said that in a tweet yesterday. I'm not going to take it further than that, but in the next episode, I want to look at how Stockton Rush recruited some of his clients, and that might give us further context into what the overall context was in terms of the OceanGate company. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.
By the time we're done testing it, I believe it's pretty much invulnerable.
And that's pretty much what they said about the Titanic.
That's right.